So how's everybody doing today? It's been over a week since my last video. I caught a cold and a real bad cough, and haven't been able to get through a whole program without hacking my lungs out. So forgive me for that, but I'm going to go ahead and give this a go because it's important. I was going to start talking about term limits last week, but I thought that maybe it'd be better to review the importance of districts in this whole political system we're under. Okay, districts are the poison wells we all must drink from to take part in this political system. In other words, they help oligarchs stay in power. They're not there to help us one little bit. Okay, so districts enable oligarchs. Only the wealthy have the resources and the time needed to win these elections. Okay, and to hold office. Well, not really hold office. They're going to put somebody in there for them. It does not matter who gets elected. Okay, they're still working for the same oligarchs. Oligarchs got all kinds of money, so they hedge their bets. They're gonna fund one guy's campaign. Well, they're gonna throw a little money at the other guy's campaign too, just to make sure that they have influence over whoever gets elected. Okay, districts are manipulated to facilitate holding power. Okay, every 10 years we have a census, and the district lines are redrawn, but those district lines are redrawn in order to facilitate the two-party system staying in power. So if you had just regular counties and townships, then as the demographics and the interests change, you'd have a different face on the state legislature. But because they draw the district lines around to maintain power, all those other folks and all those other initiatives and ideas are subjugated. They're subdued. That's actually adulteration. Okay, and that's one of the principles of a Republican system is thou shalt not commit adultery. Okay, you can't adulterate the system in order to get the results you want. Then they allow the theft of wealth and resources by popular vote. Okay, here we go again. Districts are measured and divided by their population. Okay, so it doesn't, as long as we're talking about democracy, once again, two wolves and a sheep voting for what's for lunch. They're going to vote to get their wealth and resources into their cities, okay, and suburbs. Districts silence the people with no means of appeal. Once you voted, once you voted, your voice doesn't matter anymore. That's the only time you have a voice. Right up to the time you vote, you have a voice. After that, they're going to answer back to their oligarchs. Okay? Townships and counties are also subordinated. They're just like you and me. They don't have a voice. They have just about as much power over the state legislature as we do. Okay? And once again, because it's a democratic system, the majority rules over what the law is. Okay? So if they decide that they're going to vote on something that's against, that once again, stealing from the people or adulterating something, through regulation, then there's nobody there to stop them. You know, deflection of accountability. Our representatives, because the districts are so large, they can deflect accountability by saying, "Well, I have other constituents I have to answer to." What they're really saying is, "I have my oligarchs to answer to." And then, of course, you have overlapping districts. So you have House districts and county districts, which overlap, which even gives these oligarchs even more power over a region of the state. So that's what districts do. Now we're going to look at a map here of the state. As you can see, you might get my pointer going here. Most of the state is red. Okay, the high population areas are the blue areas. Okay, I mean here it's supposed to be Democrat, but that's the high population areas. Okay, that's if you look at what's going on here, then you're saying that these little areas down here are going to vote every single time to exploit these big red areas. Okay, that's not fair. The land is the people, and the people are the land. They should have an equal voice in the government down there in Lansing. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Michigan House of Representatives district. Okay, there's 110 districts in the Michigan House. Okay, if you look at this, you can see that there's 110 up there on the top of the UP, all the way down to down here in Wayne County and all the other places. Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb County. Uh, Look how many districts are in these areas. That's one vote per district, and there's like a whole bunch of them. Okay, Wayne County has 23 districts alone, nearly a quarter of the number of districts in the whole House. Then you got Genesee, which is 5 districts, Macomb with 9, Oakland with 13, Saginaw with 3, Muskegon with 2. That's a total of 55 districts. That's half of the districts in the House of Representatives represented by these big population areas. And we're not even counting Traverse City, Petoskey, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Sheboygan. These all are big cities and they represent liberal havens, and they all, each one of those gets a big vote here in the House, even if they're not, even if they're in a district with more than one county. Even if they're in a district with more than one county, they're still the big population area in that county. So they're going to have their vote's going to override what's going on in the rest of that district. Okay, so here's the Senate district. You note here that that many counties are grouped together in these districts. This subordinates the counties, robbing them of their inherent sovereignty. Okay, Wayne County alone has 12 Senate districts out of 38. Macomb has 3, Genesee has 2, Oakland has 4, Saginaw 1, Kent 1. Total of 23 districts out of 38. All right, they've already got a majority here. Okay, and then another thing to add to this is your voice only is like 1 to 212,000 or even 273,000. Okay, so you don't have a voice at all. What's going on here? If our counties were represented, if our counties were represented in the state house, okay, in the Senate, as you were, so then there'd be a lot better granulation of representation. Okay, once again, Wayne County is a major population area. You can see how many districts are in here. It's crazy. Just Wayne, once again, same thing with the House districts. Wayne County's got a whole bunch of House districts in there, 23. Now, if we had a county map, there's 38 county or 83 counties and 1,242 townships. That's a lot better representation for the people, and that gets rid of the whole district idea. And then we actually have some good representation in the state legislature. Okay, and these people are also linked straight back to our townships and our counties, so they're answerable to somebody other than oligarchs. Here's a map of the townships. See how many townships there are? See how much representation that would be for us? So to review, district size is determined by population. Districts allow theft by population and adulteration by gerrymandering. Okay? We're not a democracy. 50% plus one vote does not have the authority to dictate the terms of surrender to 50% and minus one vote. The Republican principles dictate that both the land and the people are represented in their local governments and the state. Under the Republican system, the local geographic governments are represented at the greater tiers of government. So I hope this was helpful and for you to understand how important it is that we get rid of districts and we go to the county and township means of representation. And that will also help you understand why term limits are not going to work under this current, will not work. Okay, voting is a way to get rid of your representatives. Okay, that is a true term limit. And so I hope this is helpful. I will. My next program is going to be on term limits. So hope to see you there. God bless you. Have a nice day.